Okay, I think you're on, Dr. Sten.
I think we're set. How's that?
I think it's good.
Great, great. Great job, Dr. Greg. It's an honor to follow up on that type of presentation, and I hope I can match its quality. So thank you very
No
much for the
problem, and
intro.
there's
Welcome,
no need to
everybody.
call me Dr. Greg.
Yeah.
As
With
I don't
everybody,
converse, and don't call me if you have a heart attack.
yeah, true, true. Yeah, me either. With everybody, thank you for coming on a Saturday. It's great to have you here. To get right to what I'm going to be talking about, let me get my presentation up on here. And so when we get up to the actual subject of what I'm talking about, everybody, is the brain entrainment, or training the brain in different ways. Um, Brain entrainment, for the definition of, refers to the brain's electrical response to rhythmic stimulation. And that's the cool thing about it. When we talk about rhythmic stimulation in this context, we're talking about, for example, light pulses or rhythm pulses of sound. When it comes to when the brain is given a stimulus, as in the second point, that brain reacts to that stimulus. And the way it reacts to that stimulus is trying to match or correspond that stimulus to really protect the body or improve our health. When we talk about when our brain is subjected to a constant rhythm, for example, it tries to match that rhythm where the brain isn't trained or exists. In a later slide, I'm going to talk about different examples in nature, but it's fun to hit on this now. When we think about ocean and waters and fish, my mouse. I'm getting technical help from my IT specialist here. One second, everybody. Thank you. Okay, great. So here we go, back to it. Sorry about that, everyone. So when we get up to like the oceans and the fish, it's really interesting that you see the fish, without even thinking about it, swim in a rhythm or in a pattern. When we listen to music, how we unconsciously tap our fingers or our feet or even sway back and forth to that rhythm. That's all an example of this, a response that the brain has to outside stimulus, especially rhythmic stimulus. Brain waves. Now, a lot of you have possibly taught or possibly heard about brain waves, so I'm just going to briefly go over them without getting too in depth. But these brain waves are actually produced in our cortex. And for best health, they really need to be in balance or coordination with each other. Beta, alpha, theta, delta, and the newest one, gamma. So really beta, normal waking consciousness. Alpha, awake but deeply relaxed. Theta, light sleep, dreaming. And the last delta, which is more of the main four, the gamma is just more of a random, at least as far as my top goes. The delta, which is the deep dreamless sleep. So for example, if you look at these and you look at a person that might be unbalanced, for example, too many delta waves or too many theta waves, they're not going to have normal energy for life, correct? So if we throw in diagnoses, we can put in, fibromyalgia or the depressions or different types of functions in the body where it's not producing at its normal rate, but it's actually producing under its energy. And if you think about being overwhelmed with delta, in other words, you're just sleepy all the time, those delta waves are going to make you more sleepy and in a dreamless state, kind of like Eeyore when it comes to Winnie the Pooh. So I would assume the PEMF would have been great for Eeyore to get over his depressive state, if you see where I'm coming from, to get to a more energetic state. PEMF in the brain and the way it works with some diseases. Now, I want to reiterate just from what we were hearing from the prior presentation with Greg, was that we're looking at optimizing our response to our health. In other words, optimizing our healthy state. When we do that, we can use different modalities like PEMF, like chiropractic, acupuncture, different modalities that have been around for centuries to enhance our health naturally, to create optimal health or optimal homeostasis. So me as a chiropractor, nutritionist, my colleagues as acupuncturists and et cetera. And now with us, with our PEMF family, realizing again, we're not treating diseases, we're just optimizing health. But when we optimize health, like the examples here, some cool things are actually treated and improved as far as their function. So when improving health, we have seen ADHD, stroke patients, Alzheimer's, depression, all of those have been clinically and scientifically shown in laboratories and studies to actually improve the function of these patients. What they do is that works in balancing the brain waves. So as you can assume, in ADHD, autisms, or that spectrum, stroke patients where the brain has actually been damaged, et cetera, those brain waves are not normal, correct? And so what PEMF does is actually helps normalize some of the deficient brain waves or maybe some of the overactive brain waves. And it creates the body or puts the body to a more homeostatic state. When we get out of the PEMF, and one of the things I wanted to really more concentrate on, and this is one of the devices with the Swiss Bionics and the Omnium and the IMRS that I got really excited about, is the Omni Brain. So before describing the Omni Brain, getting into the principles of healing, sound, and light. Now realize, everybody, these natural therapies of chiropractic, acupuncture, et cetera, naturopaths, they've been around for centuries, but so has sound and light even before that. Sound and light has been used from ancient civilizations for different healings, different processes they needed to get ready for, et cetera, et cetera. In this page here, without reading every word by word, but again, in that bold is that rhythmic pattern, the rhythmic stimuli, the rhythmic sound and light is actually what is used to entrain or balance the brain. And so when we think about these different beats and therapies, as we'll talk about, there's binaural beats, mononaural beats, isochronic tones, et cetera. Those actually, before technology and computers came around, were actually used by like Tibetan monks and the Tibetan meditation bowls, if you guys are familiar with that, tuning forks, et cetera, et cetera. They've been using sound rhythmic resonances for centuries now, and now we're able to deliver it to all of us via an iPad and the great technologies from Swiss Bionics. As I said at the beginning, some of nature's ways of coordinating the brain with surrounding rhythms is the fish in the ocean, your circadian rhythm synchronizing to the rise and fall of the sun, like your body's alarm clock is what some people call it. As a male, swimming and living and working closely, naturally matching their menstrual cycles. This has always been fascinating to me. Breathing patterns and heart rates of couples matching when being closer. This is also interesting being a chiropractor, as I know husband and wives, when they come in, they have the same misalignments in their body, which is really interesting. The Omni Brain. Now, this is a picture of the Omni Brain. I assume people who have the mat have seen this. The people who have not owned the Omni Brain or the Omni Mat or the IMRS, this is what the Omni Brain looks like. It has those earbuds, and inside of the flip side of what you're looking at are two visual ports or light chambers that actually have red, green, or blue tendencies or visual lights. So when we look at the lights and the different type of therapies and colors, we look at the different colors, and I'm going to try and pull off showing you guys actual colors of what these are. So give me a second here. All right, can everybody see the colors? I hope so. Great. So when we look at this here, we'll look at the red, the orange, the yellows, the greens. These are all different hues of lights that can be achieved by the IMSR system or the Omni Brain. If we're looking at these different light spectrums, we can read briefly. Red is hot, initiating, it's stimulating energy. Orange, happiness, warmth. Yellow, mental activity, learning. Green is actually on the opposite side, cooling, sedative. Just like when we look at blue, calming, deep, restful. So these are really great fun examples of different color fields that are actually emitted by the Omni Brain that can help us with our health goals. So when we have this OmniBrain going, and at the very end of the keynote here, I'm going to try and actually do on screen an example of the OmniBrain and how it looks, so you guys can actually see how it functions along with the with the iPad function. But to understand the beats, and here's just different definitions that you guys can read through it, and I'll just hit on the different points. But binaural, monaural, and isochronic tones, these are what the Swiss Bionic Company has put in to the OmniBrain to help us balance our brain function or improve better brain entrainment. Now, these beats, they come to our cortex and they actually excite our pyramidal cells. The pyramidal cells are like our circuit breaker in our brain. The cortex creates the message, it sends the message down to the body. But before the message is sent down to the body, it has to go through the circuit breaker or brain stem, pyramidal cells, etc. So if we can best enhance and balance that brain stem and pyramidal cells, it'll send messages to our body and the body returning back to our brain much more efficiently. Now these beats, the binaural means more than one, monaural means more or just one, and so does isochronic. But when you match them together, you create, like the paragraph above, two different tones that are played at the same time that actually stimulate our brain waves. And that's the thing to take from this. Remember from the beginning, I was talking about rhythmic stimuli, not random stimuli. When you listen to these binaural beats, and you could actually go online and do on Google and YouTube and actually listen to binaural and all these isochronic tones. So you can actually sample these anytime you guys want to actually go on the computers and your phones and look at what these beats and sounds actually sound like. But when the body gets in touch with that rhythmic wah, 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 wah sound, for example, it actually creates and stimulates certain brain waves in our brain, creating more relaxation, more energy for the day, et cetera, et cetera. So when we're using the OmniBrain, some of the main uses and keys that we start with, and the same thing are the rules, and as far as my understanding, with the OmniMat and the IMRS, when you're using the whole body mat, we start with low intensity first. And when it comes to the color, obviously there's going to be a brightness setting. And hopefully I'll be able to show you guys all this here in just a little bit. Know your colors. Know what each color does. For example, red. Red is excitatory, as we saw in that example, just the last slide or two. Using too much red can also cause anxiety. Using too much blue can cause too much relaxation. So I would not use a lot of blue before this presentation or before going on a workout. So know your colors. We use once a day, at least once a day for about 10 minutes is usually sufficient enough. Use it with your PEMF mat, with the OmniMat or IMRS. You'll get much more of an overall health, balancing, and homeostatic effect if you use both the PEMF and the OmniBrain. Use sounds that come with the OmniBrain. Now, this OmniBrain has the binaural beats and the other tones actually pre-programmed into it, so you don't have to do anything besides push start. You can actually download music, which takes a little more of a sound card, and you can put your own, like Mozart has been highly used for brain reentrainment. Brahms, Beethoven, the classical music spectrum has been highly used for the autism, the ADHDs. And actually, I remember using these classical studies in medical school, helping me study. And I remember being able to study for so much longer with listening to Mozart and Beethoven, those classical musics. So they actually increase that certain brain wave that help us study and learn. So with this last slide here, just personal information. As a thank you to everybody here, I wanted to say anybody to reach out. I'll definitely give time to reach out to you. The first 10, we can actually set up a free consultation. I do telehealth, as Greg was saying in his last slide. Even though I'm here in Southern California, I can help others that are not in California, either east side, southern states, it doesn't matter. Through consultations and through remote muscle testing, that's how I work. I work through chiropractic, but with nutrition is the main aspect of how I do the telehealth. And as we know, the PEMF mat actually helps deliver more nutrition, and I find better results in my clinic with people using the mat and receiving nutrition as well. And as a fun thing, just to promote our life and health styles as we're all locked inside, my father is actually a master Pilates instructor. Here's some YouTube exercises for everybody. Go to Lifestyle Warrior John Kerwin on YouTube, and you'll get 8 free, we say 8 so far, 20-minute videos of Pilates workouts that you could do on your living room floor. So if I can go back to our actual Zoom call here, if I could figure out how to do it. There we go. Can everybody see me? Yeah, all right. So here's my OmniBrain. Here's the sound buds that come with it. When I flip it around, you can see the 2 light ports that actually emit the light. Now, if I can get my pad going here, and I'll put the OmniBrain on, you can see how we can customize the different light fields to what our demands might be. Sorry for the reflection of the lights, but you can see the red, the green, the blue, and the brightness colors. You can actually change these different tones to actually make a change in the overall color of what is being delivered through the visual buds. And so if I go ahead and just go ahead and push start on here, I will show you how it actually goes through and starts flashing if it'll work for me. Actually, I need it attached to the pad here, so I didn't set it up correctly, but I wanted to actually show you guys how you can customize the red, green, and blue fields to create those many visual spectrums that we saw between orange, violet, yellow, because as you see here, only the primary colors, red, green, and blue. So what we have to do is change up like the red and the blue to make a different color, and just a little bit of artistic flair, artistic knowledge to actually see what is actually happening in the lights. On the text thread here in the chat thread is a great question of saying, when you use the OmniBrain, do you use eyes open or closed? Keep them closed. You do not need to keep them open for any reason. It actually has a better effect, and it's not as stimulating with your eyes open. If you lay, for example, with the OmniBrain on you with your eyes open for 10 minutes, you're going to be blind as a bat when you get up, first of all, because you'll be so colorblind from all the flashing lights. So the best application and everything is actually keep your eyes closed. With the volume, it's the same thing with the intensity of the brightness. The brightness is way down here. The volume control is up top here. You start with the volume of the beats on a low volume as well. So everything we start with the matte, with the intensity of the brightness and the volume of the sound, we all start with low settings and increase as we can actually get healthier, as our body can actually take it. So that was actually the last part of what I wanted to do, is just actually show you the device of what we use in Swiss Bionics, being the OmniBrain, to actually achieve better brain entrainment. Remember, PEMF is a great adjunct for putting in better health, better function, for better homeostasis and optimal living. But this brain entrainment has really got me excited as a chiropractor. And honestly, this device of the OmniBrain is what led me towards Swiss Bionics and not the other companies. So this has been a great honor and great time for me to bring more awareness to the OmniBrain, because I don't think it is used enough to really where we can get a lot more use out of our Swiss Bionic systems when we use the OmniBrain itself.
That was excellent, Dr. Sten, and you're absolutely right. People do not take full advantage of brainwave entrainment and the many benefits over decades of research that it shows. And I have some great articles I can't wait to get your feedback on in regards to how you use HRV to interpret the benefits of brainwave entrainment. So with our new IRMRS Prime, you're actually going to be able to correlate your muscle testing with heart rate variability to collaborate your therapeutic parameters.
Okay, this is Terry Willis. Can I speak? Great.
Yes, you are live, Terry.
That's great. Dr. Stan Curvin, I love him. His information is right there in the chat as well. He's a holistic chiropractor. He talked about that. His information, his office number, his email address right there in the chat. I am Terry Willis. I have personally gone to see him for years, and I personally recommend him to anyone who needs a consultation for any health issues you may have. If you're in the South Cal area, you can go to see him. If you're out of the area, you can do telehealth, and he did it for me as well. So he is good and very knowledgeable in both our IMRS and Ambient One system. Now, but for anyone who are not a member yet and are interested in our PEMF device, please get back to the person who invited you to the webinar. That's all I have. Next, Pamela.
Excellent.